Now, as I said, we want to do something more meaningful with this. So we've got the basics that we can access the data transfer in the files. We don't just want to log its name, but we do want to do something with each of those files. So I'm going to keep the variable and I'm going to keep the for each loop. Now we need to use the file reader functionality, which again is part of that HTML drag and drop API. So remember, go back there if you want to get some more detail about this stuff. But let's see this through. The first thing that I want to do is create a new file reader object. So I'm going to say, give me a variable called reader, and it's a new file reader. Then we want to add an onload event listener to that. So when the reader's loaded, so now we've given it a way that we can access that easily. I'm going to say reader.onload, and we want a function. We're going to pass it the event object, and what we want is the base 64 encoded version of those file contents. So they'll usually have a prefix, something like data :image semicolon base 64. We don't want that part of things. So the actual file content is going to appear after that comma. What I'm going to do as part of reading this file is to say split it at that first comma. But I'll deal with the rest first, and let's actually see what that looks like. You can see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to give myself a few variables to make this easy. I'm going to say, for example, file contents. I'm going to get from that event, target, and its result. I'm likely going to want the file name, so I'll pop that in a variable as well. That's simply going to be file.name. I'll get the type. So for example, is this an image, a PDF? And the file size. So perhaps we'll want to put a check in there to say only if it's under an allowed maximum limit will we actually do anything with that and transfer it to Dataverse. Then, just as a way to visually check these things are actually populated, that this is working, this function, what I'm going to do is log those to the console again. So I want each of those things, the file contents, file name, file type, and file size. Again, not doing anything with the images for now. We're just going to print that to the console so that we can see we're able to access these properties, we're able to read the files. I'll save where I'm up to, sync and preview in Power Pages. I'm going to drag a couple of files into the control. So I can see I've still got the drag over event, so I've not broken anything to that extent. Let's see what happens in the console. Nothing, which is interesting, not what I expected. Oh, and in fact I've not actually told it to read the files, so I'm going to say read as data URL. And what is it I'm reading as a data URL? It's this current file. Again, save, sync, preview. So I'll drop my files on there. If I inspect, let's have a look in the console. Yeah, so for each file I've got the name, I've got the file type, I've got the size, and this is a representation of the file's contents. So this is where I'm saying we need to do a bit of preparation on the file. So we need everything except that prefix. So we want to split that on the first comma. That's a pretty easy change to make. So I'm going to say, instead of file contents, I'm going to call this, for example, base64. And then what I want to do is not just get that result and leave it at that. I want to split, and I want to split that when we encounter a comma, and that's the first comma. That's splitting out this part. As soon as it finds that first comma, drop that, use the rest of it. So sync and preview will just show you that difference. We've done the prep, then it's a matter of what do we actually want to do with each of these files. How do we get these to Dataverse? So much the same result for now, but I've cleaned off that prefix. So all we're left with is the base64 contents.